Good evening, Hello. Good evening, everybody. I don't think that's on, but okay. Good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order. Can we have approval of the agenda, please?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. How about a pledge of allegiance? Can we first of all, welcome John back and have him lead us in a pledge of allegiance?
Hey now!
Would you all please rise? Remove your hats. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we missed that, and we know he's back. So there we go. Thank you so much. Way to go, John. Announcements and recognitions.
I have your announcements for the month of March.
Okay.
Spring break will take place March 30th through April 3rd this year, with classes resuming on Monday, April 6th. We are quickly approaching the annual Beloit Memorial High School Hall of Fame ceremony set for April 23rd at 9:15 a.m. The ceremony will take place in the school's Barkin Arena and is open to the entire community. This is the 22nd year of the program, begun by Fran Frusen in 1994. Forms for elementary summer school are due April 1st and can be turned into the school office at any of our elementary school buildings, except for maybe Royce, right?
Right.
Summer school forms are available at our schools and in the announcements section of our website, beloitschools.net. Next year's school year calendar is now posted on our website. New on the calendar are 2 days reserved for June in case of any school closings to be made up. And this concludes March announcements.
Thank you, Michael. We are moving on to recognitions. Welcome, Melissa.
Yeah, at the rate we're going, I don't think winter's ever going to be over. Kind of missing spring a little bit tonight. Tonight's done. All right, well, we have a few great recognitions for you tonight. First of all, I'd like to ask Dr. Tina Salzman from Beloit Memorial High School, our principal, to join me at the podium. We had a wonderful Martin Luther King commemoration that is a joint effort between Beloit and Janesville Public Schools, and we had a lot of student performers there. Beloit was well represented. And Tina, if you want to...
Sure. It's my pleasure to congratulate all of those students who participated in that wonderful event. Colton is here tonight. We did invite a number of our students who participated during that wonderful event. However, you should know that you are in competition with a highly sought-after staff versus student basketball game. So I'm afraid that you're probably losing out because that's where our students are. However, Colton is here. Colton was one of our performers, did a fabulous job. We had an essay winner. Regina Bradford, won the essay contest and did a marvelous job, was able to read her essay, and then we also had another reader who I believe did a Maya Angelou reading. Additionally, we had a number of vocalists who also performed and, of course, represented Beloit Memorial in the School District of Beloit very well. So we're very proud of them, and thank you very much. Colton, you're the one student I get to thank formally tonight, but certainly thank you to all of those students who did such a marvelous job.
Great. He doesn't get to come up be on camera?
He can come. We can have him come up on camera.
No, got to be on camera.
Colton, we would love to recognize
Now, the good thing is having a last name B, it's near the front, so easy to find. I also want to point out that Colton did a marvelous job in Shrek, so I had to point that out. Because anybody who had seen that, it was just a tremendous performance. I loved it, so nice job. Okay, our next recognition is some of our outstanding district staff picked by our principals at our schools. So I'd like to start with Merrill Elementary School. So if Principal Dr. Betsy Schroeder could come up along with her honoree, Nicole Davidson.
Congratulations, Nicole. It is my honor to nominate Nicole Davidson, a second grade teacher at Merrill, for our staff recognition this year. Nicole goes above and beyond in numerous ways to support the students, staff, and school community of Merrill. Nicole demonstrates excellence in the classroom. She develops and delivers engaging lessons that meet the various needs of her students. Nicole effectively integrates technology and connects our essential learning targets to real-life experiences that help make her lessons meaningful. Nicole takes the time to reflect on her teaching and continually keeps her focus on student engagement and achievement. She effectively manages behaviors and uses community circles to meet the changing social and emotional needs of the students in her classroom. Nicole is an educational leader who facilitates weekly meetings with our second grade team. Nicole's passion and persistence helps the team develop innovative lessons and analyze student work and data and addresses the academic, social, and emotional needs of our students. She demonstrates teamwork and flexibility while always listening to others' ideas and seeking solutions. Nicole is an outstanding educator in the classroom and serves as a valued member of our school's leadership team. Outside of the classroom, Nicole is a bridge builder. She works hard to engage students and families in the local community. Nicole plays an active part in BRAVE, Beloit Residents Against Violence Everywhere. She walks students home every week and promotes the program with families and other local organizations. She also attends Merrill's monthly home and school meetings, as well as our evening events for families. Nicole makes and maintains connections within the school community, as well as the Merrill Community Center, to benefit our students in school. Nicole also single-handedly organized our Black History Month activities this year by reaching out to Merrill alumni and local community leaders. Over 12 adults volunteered their time to speak with our students in February thanks to Nicole's leadership. She also helped coordinate our family kickoff event as well as our Black History Month assembly. Nicole shows tremendous respect and compassion when working with students, staff, and our families. Her patience and positive attitude are contagious. Nicole comes from a family of educators, and her dedication to Merrill and the community of Beloit does not go unnoticed. She consistently maintains a high level of enthusiasm and energy that is to be commended. For these reasons and many more, Nicole Davidson is worthy of Merrill Staff Recognition Award this year. Congratulations, Nicole.
We have a certificate of appreciation and recognition of professionalism, caring, leadership and learning, and dedication to the education and well-being of the students of the School District of Beloit, along with the I Make a Difference pin. And another school that we are having tonight, recognizing two additionally wonderful women. We ask Tina Gex, the principal at Royce Chapman Andrews Academy and Beloit Learning Academy, to come up along with her recognees, Susan Bailey and Tracy Scoville.
Hey now. So first of all, good to see you all. It's been a while, and thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to really shout out on some great staff members. Boy, I got like a little paragraph because I was thinking it was supposed to be really brief. So I could really, there's two of you, and I could say so much, but I'll read what I got here. I have Sue Bailey and Tracy Scoville, who are two special heroes in the Wright Building. These two ladies oversee our after-school Expelled program, and every Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 5:30, Sue and Tracy provide support, monitoring, and guidance to our expelled middle school and high school students. This requires a great deal of strength, patience, and commitment, which these two ladies have in abundance. Both have an amazing ability to make connections with our students and their families. And additionally, Sue and Tracy are teachers and leaders in our building and are always willing to lend a hand, fill in, and go the extra mile for their colleagues and always, of course, their students. Sue does the GETO 2 program. She works that program. In addition, she works with our virtual school program. And then Tracy is our math teacher, so she teaches geometry and algebra in the building, and then just about everything else. She manages the Teachscape, and when we've only got 4 teachers down in the BLA wing, I mean, they do a little bit of everything. So they're really extraordinary, and their commitment and love and dedication for these kids, the safe place that they provide for these learners is really, really impressive. I don't know what I'd do without the two of you, and I'm just so thankful that you're in our house and that you're part of our family, and they're what makes our world rock. So Thank you so much, you guys. Love you.
All right, well, before you guys go, good certificates for your professionalism and dedication and obvious caring for your students. And again, also for the I Make a Difference pin, because you guys really, truly do. So, Susan, for you. Yes, congratulations. For Tracy, congratulations. You know, one thing I notice about all of our staff that we recognize for this is you never see them without a smile on their face. I mean, they're always so cheerful and dedicated and really appreciate all that they do. And speaking of another one that is so cheerful and dedicated, we are recognizing our soccer coach for a very special honor that he received. So excited about this. So to help me with this, I asked Chuck Stiles, our athletics director, to come up along with our honoree, Brian Denew.
Well, Tina, let me get my speech out. I don't have one because Brian's too easy to talk about. Our soccer program would be a shadow of itself without Brian. He's actually the head boys and girls soccer coach. The girls just started last night. But our boys program had the best season ever. They went 22-7 this year. And as I recall, they only lost to one Wisconsin team all year, which is a significant accomplishment. And I think, Brian, you told me that at one point you were pretty happy that this is the first year we didn't lose to Madison Memorial. So that's a huge accomplishment because they pretty much dominated everything in soccer. But not this year. Going to the state tournament was a huge accomplishment. If you didn't have a chance to go to the game, you missed something special. Following the team all year was amazing. And Brian, you rock. I'll just tell you that. If we had 23 coaches like yourself, we'd be in a much better place. And I just say thank you. Brian was recognized as the Wisconsin State Journal and Wisconsin Soccer Coaches Association Coach of the Year. But it was two organizations, so that's why he's here. It took a little while to get him on the schedule to be recognized. Soccer just ended, didn't it?
Yeah, it's never ends.
Right,
It's always
right.
doing something.
It's like, well, I won't compare it. But Brian, he spends countless hours with the kids, and the reason they're successful is he cares. And it's a big, big deal for especially our Hispanic community. If you haven't seen our team, it's amazing the time and effort they put in and the work that goes into it by Brian and his staff. So congratulations, Brian. I love you.
I love you too.
Before we let you go, we have a certificate of appreciation for you in recognition of passion, dedication, and leadership as head coach of the Beloit Memorial High School boys soccer team and the 2014 WSCA Coach of the Year. Congratulations. Nice job.
Brian, I just want to say you've done a great job, and as a soccer mom, watching you play soccer years ago, it's been a long time, and how proud, though, that your family and we are of your accomplishments. You are a great mentor to our students, and what an accomplishment throughout the state. Everybody knows your name now. Thank you very much.
Brian, before you go, Joanne and I had the good fortune to go to the state tournament and watch us play there. And I think that in addition to all the wonderful on-field accomplishments and all the wonderful accomplishments that you made working with each kid as an individual, the other thing that really, really impressed me was the following that our soccer team built. The support from the stands, support from the community, support from high school students, support from all ages. It was just great. It was a great turnout, great support, and that's also a tribute to the fact that not only were we playing well, but we were a team with personality, and that's something very special. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And
And we had such a good experience with that, with so many people in the audience, that Janelle has now told us we have to work to fix our bleachers. So there we go. It's happening. I think our next item is citizens or delegations, areas of interest not on the agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to speak tonight? Anyone who wishes to join us? Okay, we will move forward. Thank you. It's always an opportunity. We welcome anytime community wants to come and chat with us. It's an awesome time. So we'll move to superintendent's report to the board. Dr. Johnson.
All right, good evening. Tonight, I'm pleased to have Principal Stephanie Jacobs with us to provide an update on Converse School, which is a spotlight school, which she will talk about. And I would just add, I've had the opportunity to be at Converse on several occasions recently, once during a visit from another school district, and they were thoroughly impressed, and as was I, with the leadership of Mrs. Jacobs, but also the teachers that I had the opportunity to sit in a SIT team meeting, actually, an intervention team meeting. Converse is a very impressive place, and it's a model for our district, and the state has recognized it as one for others. So welcome.
Thank you. I prepared just a brief PowerPoint. Melissa?
Always challenge. Oh, yes. Thank you. Yep, good thought.
Okay.
Spruce now when they come back anyway, I think, right? There's an element of-
Okay, you all can hear me okay? Awesome. Okay, so we have been very fortunate to be chosen this year as a spotlight school, and I believe I'm just going to go pretty quickly through it because I believe you all have it in your board packet. The Spotlight Schools Initiative is a competitive grant program for schools that have been a recipient of the School of Recognition Award for the last 3 years. I'm very proud and honored to say that we have received it for the last 4. And here's hoping for a 5th year. We're not quite sure what will happen with the upcoming test, but we'll do our best. Schools are selected on documented success in the area of teaching and learning, and then you choose one of the following. Converse is the only one out of 13 schools that chose decision-making and accountability. This program has been developed to provide information to schools around the state about effective practices in improving student learning and achievement, and allowing school teams to arrange visits to spotlight schools, both new and continuing, to observe the practices and then implement ideas in their own schools. And I want to say right here, too, it's been really a lot of fun and very informative for our school as well, because we're also learning from the schools that are visiting. So it's really a give and take for both schools. So this past year, there were 6 new Spotlight School grantees. Converse was one of them, and 7 continuing Spotlight schools from last year. And just as an aside, I don't think it's in your brochure, but Beloit is by far the lowest in the state. Most of them are in the upper. It's kind of interesting, but we are the only one in this area for hundreds of miles. So I'm not going to go through all of our spotlighted practices, but again, those are listed. The schools come, they choose what they want to see, and we make every visit specific to that school that's coming. March 6th was Palmyra Elementary from the Palmyra Eagle School District. March 11th, Albrecht Elementary came, and that's from Broadhead. Fort Atkinson we're still waiting to hear when they're coming. DeForest is scheduled for April 17th, and not on here. This just came in at the last minute. Madison is sending Falk Elementary on April 8th. And we're still not sure when Janesville will be coming. And this is just a sample visit schedule in the AM. It's pretty packed. There are 3 things that they all must watch, and that's our SIT team that Dr. Johnson was speaking about, our PLCs, and our ELTs, which Angie Monpass is kind enough to come and present every time for each visit. And then the rest of it's tailored to each individual school, what they'd like to see. This is just a sample visit of the PM. We were told by DPI to make sure our food was really good. So we feed them very well. And then last is just a picture of when Palmyra Elementary came. That was the smallest group so far. There was just 4. We average around 6 to 8. And it's been a really wonderful experience. And we've been able to, with the funding that we've gotten, we've been able to send staff to a ton of conferences paid through DPI, which has been awesome. And the staff have really taken advantage of that. We also can get resources for our students and our staff. It's a $50,000 grant. So yeah, it's been very amazing. So, are there any questions? Yes, you're welcome. A little birdie told me that gifts are always welcome by the board. So you will have a Converse Cougar mug in front of you, just our brochure, a little wrapped piece of paper. So if you would like to order a Converse Spotlight shirt, I forgot to bring mine, but there I am in it. It is a collared shirt, comes in men and women's sizes, all the information's on there. You may do so, just send it to me at Converse. And you also have a Spotlight pen. So thank you very much.
Stephanie, can I go ahead, Shannon? Then I have a question for you as well.
And I want to say thank you, Stephanie, for not only the presentation tonight, but when the safety committee came through, and you were a key part to that tour of your building. And a shout out to your maintenance staff, because your building was extremely clean and in well order. And then I think I also want to, I also want to congratulate you on being a new mom to several new kitties in your house. So congratulations, and love you. I love you.
Thank you.
The love's in the room tonight.
Just lots of love in the air. But this truly is a wonderful school district. And as finishing now my 16th year in here, it's just watching everything tonight. It's been so awesome. I mean, this really is a special place. And the schools that have come have remarked on what a remarkable school ours is, yes, but we're part of a bigger family. And we really believe that. So thank you.
Cool. Stephanie, can I ask a question? I'll tie right to that question. So you talked about, people coming and learning from us. Mm-hmm. Can you share a couple of things that maybe you've learned from the visits that they've brought, that you've walked away with from the schools that you've had an opportunity to interact with?
Well, my friend Steve Greenquist, the principal that's in the middle, actually we taught together for many years in Pewaukee before we both became principals. Steve is very interested in the Reader's Workshop. So they're instigating that, so I might go on a visit through Spotlight Money and take a peek at what they're doing. Broadhead, we talked a lot about PLCs and shared ideas and what works, with both of ours. So we got that from them, and I'm looking forward to the diversity of the other schools that are coming as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next item up are reports to the board. And we will start with our wonderful students.
Okay. So first thing, term 3 ends this Friday with finals for blocks 3, 4, and 5 on Thursday, and blocks 1 and 2 on Friday. Friday will be a full day of school, and for the blocks after the exams in blocks 1 and 2, there will be scheduling and class meetings. So that's end of term 3.
And then following that, next week we have spring break, which is all week long, and classes will resume on Monday, April 6th. And then after that, the music department is taking many trips that week. The band will be traveling to Florida to compete at Festival Disney from April 8th through the 14th. The choir will be going to Washington, D.C. from the 7th to the 12th, and the orchestra will be going to New York from the 8th to the 13th.
So still on the performing arts track, The high school's production of Shrek had 2 great weekends and closed on Sunday. They sold a record number of tickets in 5 performances, and with a grand total of 3,047 tickets over 5 nights.
Pretty incredible. On the other side of the spectrum, high school spring sports have started. Track had a very successful meet this past Saturday at UW-Whitewater with some new school records and many athletes placing their events. I know also soccer started last night, and I believe baseball started last night.
Yes. And then also in the athletic department, the results of the students versus staff basketball game are in. The staff did pull out a win over our students, 69-57. So better luck next time. But that was a fundraiser for MEO, so I think we had a pretty good turnout for that. And in addition to that, the high school will be holding a listening session for the entire student body this week on Thursday after school at 3:30 in the cafeteria. So we're hoping to get some student input on the superintendent position decision. So tell your friends.
And last, even though we did just finish Shrek on Sunday, we have already started rehearsals for our next musical. We will be doing Seussical the Musical, and it is a fundraiser for our 3rd trip to the world's largest theater festival in Scotland, and that'll be the trip to Scotland will be summer of 2016, but performances of Seussical are May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And that is all.
I'm sure it's not all, because knowing these two and also knowing some in the high school, there's no way that it's all. But are there questions, or are we, okay, we're going to let them study so they pass their exams? Huh?
Ask your question.
Which question? Oh, we haven't asked you lately what the hot topics are at the high school. Do you have a hot topic or two?
I think definitely Shrek getting over that was great, but I think one that's definitely starting to like bubble now is about the superintendent position and the listening session that's coming up. So I think students, there's some good talks about that.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of students that didn't really know what was going on, so it's been really nice to have teachers sort of informing their students, letting them know what the decision is about, what the process is going to be, what the different options are. So kids sort of saying, oh, I didn't realize that was going on, or I didn't realize that was happening. It's been really nice to see kids understanding what's going on in the district.
And I just wanted to say a thank you to our student leadership and to our staff. I didn't attend, but I understand that the winter formal this year was considerably larger than last year and was a great success. So for being second annual, it was outstanding from everything that I've heard feedback on. So thank you.
Yeah. What I just heard from you guys, it sounds like we're going to get a great turnout at the listening session, and that's exactly what we want.
I hope so.
Yes. Good.
Okay. Be prepared. The next, sometimes another question comes. It's like, what's the best thing about Beloit Memorial Hospital High School? Either, right? Okay. But we'll focus on the high school tonight. And so maybe next time we'll be asking something like that. So you can be prepared. All right. Thank you very much. Next, our committee reports: Finance, Transportation, and Property. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
We met, and as we are wrapping up, hopefully, referendum projects, we now have this new space, and we have other spaces that we are reconfiguring, namely our intermediate buildings. And so what that requires is that we change things with, furniture, hardware, electronics, all of those types of things. So the bulk of our meeting was basically starting to address some of those issues. So there were TV purchases that were made, surveillance equipment changes at Aldridge Intermediate School, and some other things that were going on, other musical instrument purchases that will be coming forward. So we dealt with a lot of those things, and had a talk also again about transportation, right? Because as we change things and reconfigured, those things change, and we are always kind of looking at what we're doing and seeing how we can save the taxpayer money. So we got an update on what we're doing with transportation. We're very happy with our collaboration with Durham Services right now as it relates to that. So that was the bulk of kind of what we talked about. There's always budget questions and things like that coming up that we discuss and have our eye on. But that was our meeting.
Great, thank you. Questions? Hearing none, we'll move to curriculum.
Thank you.
Okay, the curriculum committee met on March the 10th, and we got a monthly development report. And this is kind of interesting because this talks about grants that have been submitted, grants that have been turned down, grants that have been awarded. It gives us the whole picture on grants. And grants are often kind of a ponderous process. It takes time for them to come through. But school year to date, we have received thus far for grants $771,878, which is a nice number. Hopefully we can get that up to 7 digits by the end of the school year. We'll see how that goes, but it's exciting because that's another source of revenue, and it's a source of revenue that benefits various parts of our school district. It's not money that can be used any place. It's money that always is for a specific purpose. But grant writing is something that I believe is very important, and I'm glad that we continue to be committed to it. We also got several things to do, adoptions, all of which are being moved forward for action tonight in this committee. So I'll just touch on them briefly because they're coming up later in the meeting. But essentially, we got a junior Great Books instructional materials adoption. And this is a bunch of stories compiled very carefully for our younger students and designed to help them to think, help them to understand, help them to look more in depth at what they're reading. We also adopted the Common Core standards, which we're already working with, and we were very pleased to do that because quite honestly, we believe in it, and we'll talk definitely more about that a little bit later this evening. And then the Next Generation Science Standards. The Next Generation Science Standards, the Science Department tells me they've been working on this for about 2 years and studying this for about 2 years, and they've put a lot of thought into it. And again, it's designed for helping students to learn more about science. It also has some emphasis on what's called STEM, which is science and engineering and math kinds of skills, which in terms of the national debate are considered somewhat lacking in our students, so we're not getting enough students who are strong in this area. And since I'm a guy that came from the arts side of arts and sciences, why I'm struggling to understand all that, but I think I do, and I know it's important, so great, I'm glad we're doing it. And finally, we talked about advanced placement course offerings, and more importantly, we talked about the ongoing effort in our high school to encourage more and more students to enroll in one or more advanced placement courses. And this is important. We want our kids in AP courses. We want our kids to understand what they're capable of. And I think that sometimes our students tend to underestimate themselves. And so I think that by getting them into AP courses, by getting them to where they're comfortable in an environment of advanced learning, it's going to be beneficial to them for the rest of their lives. So that was essentially what our meeting was about, and I'll entertain any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, thank you, John. Nora, Policy and Personnel.
The Policy and Personnel Committee met on March 10th. And in that meeting, we discussed a number of policies that will be coming up tonight. There are actually 4. I forgot. We met on February 24th also, where we approved personnel recommendations. And we had a presentation by Tammy Flanders, who provided us an update on immunizations. And part of the reason why she came to do that presentation is we had a couple of community members express concern about the measles outbreak elsewhere. But Tammy assured us that if an outbreak did occur that the Rock County Health Department would be consulted for handling the situation, and she felt that it would be very rare that it would. So then we move on to March 10th, where we had 4 policies. 2 of them were brand new, and then there was an update. And I'll just read you a little bit of something that I prepared, because after our elections next month, our committee structure may change, and so I thought I would do this little report to kind of update where we're at. Okay, new policies are usually generated by changes in the law or cultural practices, and we have about 900 policies. Our legal responsibilities include systematic review of those policies and to make sure they're up to date. Now, next month before we change places, we will be looking at our master policy log to see what policies we need to update. For tonight's meeting, though, policies that we discussed on March 10th include a new policy on district online learning, and that's policy 343.7. That policy was created because of a cultural change. We do have online learning in our district, but we didn't have a lot of, requirements, or I should say guidelines on how to implement that. And so what we did with this new policy is we identified areas of the criteria for student expectations and for applying for these online courses. In this policy that we will be looking at and hopefully approving tonight, we will be discussing, or the policy includes an instructional administrator who evaluates the courses. It will talk about the teacher who does teach the online course needs to be licensed by DPI. And then it also talks about credit given to students and how they might get that credit. It then also talks about expectations and whether or not students are attending the way the district policy says that they should, and whether or not they will receive credit. Another policy that's coming up tonight for first reading is policy 443.2, and this is student conduct on school buses. And this is just a minor update just to define what passenger transportation is on the bus. And then we have a revised policy, policy 367, which hasn't been revised since 1992, so it's quite old. And then there are 2 rules that go along with this. This is our school counseling program policies, and in those updates we just added some language that's pertinent to today, which includes academic and career planning language, which we didn't have in the policy back in 1992. And then it also identifies the various tests and how they've changed and what type of test each grade will be taking, and it also identifies personnel changes. For example, in 1992, instead of calling that position a school counselor, it was called human resources. So a lot of language was just plain updated. And then our last policy for consideration for first reading tonight is another new policy, and it's on student use of cellular phones. With all of the phones that our students have, sometimes there's just a little bit of competition with those cell phones in the classroom. So this policy will identify when they can use it. We're stating that it should be used before and after school unless a teacher gives specific permission to use that cell phone. And also it prohibits the transfer of videos and images being taken in locker rooms and bathrooms and that sort of thing. And it's all going to be informed through our family handbook to our parents, and there will be consequences, disciplinary consequences for violators. So those are the 4 policies that we're going to be looking at tonight, and next month there may be different people up here doing the reports for committees. So, are there any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you, Nora. Appreciate it. Next item up is consent list.
Move approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Following that, we have classroom TV bid.
I would move to approve the award of television purchases to Vantage Point Corp Innovations for a period of 3 years at cost plus 2%. And why that is, just we don't normally see something like that, so we're looking to, to continue to save costs. We know these are purchases over the next couple of years we're going to need to be making. Janelle, in her infinite wisdom, was able to work something out to get us more of a fixed price and free freight if we do that. So the cost plus 2%, if you look at fiscal impact, you kind of get more of a general idea of the total of that, 191,587. But that's estimated for 3 years.
Questions? Shannon?
A question on this one, as well as we have musical instruments coming up for about $65,000. They all reference that we had previously set aside $700,000 for the startup cost of Fruzen.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering if can we get a running tally of where we're at going forward, not for this evening, but as we go forward? Because I understand we had that pool of 700, but we have 192 and 65 tonight, and we previously approved the cameras. So where are we kind of at in that $700 figure? So not tonight, but as I'm sure there's going to be additional startup costs. How are we doing with what we put aside?
I just want to point out that 191, that 200,000, that's over 3 years under this
Right.
prime vendor contract. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? It's been moved and seconded. I didn't hear a second yet. Right, that's what I was looking for. Second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of purchase order over $25,000.
Move approval of video surveillance system for Aldridge Intermediate, including material labor costs from Enterprise Services Group, total of $73,716.67.
I'll second that.
Second, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Musical instrument purchase. Michael can't do that.
I'll move the approval of musical instrument purchases for Fran Fruzen Intermediate School from Voight Music Center in the amount of $64,537.56.
I'll second.
Second. Just to point out, I think it was a thank you to Janelle and company, right? That's it's an impressive bid list. There's 6 different folks that participated in that, so it was a really nice, wide-ranging bid from all over the place, and so they were rated and calculated in terms of how it looks. So I appreciate the hard work on that one, and that moved us to our proposed bidder. So thank you so much for that good work. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone abstaining?
Abstention.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, next item up is budget adjustments.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, junior grade books, instructional materials. John.
Move approval.
Questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Common Core State Standard adoption. I heard a move.
I'll second it.
Second, and I think you had something to say.
Yeah, I've got
Your hand was up.
I do. I want to offer a friendly amendment. In the curriculum committee meeting, we specifically suggested that the way that this motion would read would be that the adoption would go to the full board with the specific addition of English language arts and mathematics for grades K-12 in the title of the proposal. So what we're doing and what I'm proposing is that this be a motion to adopt the Common Core standards for English language arts and for mathematics for grades K through 12. Then also, in addition to that, I would add another sentence which we didn't discuss in the curriculum, but it's been suggested to me since that I think makes sense, and that's to state that it is understood that the Common Core standards represent a basic level of instruction, and that the school district is free to go above and beyond the Common Core standards in any area of instruction that it wishes to do so. So I'm proposing those two friendly amendments, if that makes sense to the maker of the motion.
So yes, and the second is okay too? Hello, seconder?
I was actually the seconder.
You were the seconder, so I assume it's okay.
I got it.
Thank you, John, for adding that. I 100% agree. I agree with both, but I also agree that, you know, we've talked many times about Common Core. We've kind of, you know, Linnea's done a great job kind of bringing us along with that, helping us understand. And clearly, we have heard from day one that it is a starting point. It is not the top point. It is the starting point, and that we can expand. In fact, in many places, I would argue we already do more than the Common Core does, and that is the wonderful part of the Boise School District, and we want to continue that, and we will continue that. So you know, some people look at Common Core as the restrictive side. I look at it as this is the baseline, and we're building on it. In fact, we're building on it already. And so we clearly heard that from Stephanie tonight, and the good work that's happening at Converse too. So I appreciate that, and am happy to be supportive of that. Any other, if nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, John. Next Generation Science Standards Adoption. There's people actually waiting in the audience to see what we do. Is there a motion? Second. Questions, comments? I think they look great. Shannon?
Because we do have people here, I was wondering if we could just get a real brief highlight of why this is great for our district.
Sure.
Because I think STEM is huge, personally, and I think it's something that we all need to be excited about. So I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, and if nobody wants to, that's fine. But I am. Sorry.
I didn't know I was going to have to talk tonight. I'm very excited. I was on a state science leadership team for the past 3 years, and we met, and basically our job was to review the standards to see if they really fit what Wisconsin needs. And the evaluation of the whole committee came out and said, yes, this is where we should be headed. The standards are incredible. This is the first time in 20 years that we've had new science standards. They're very different from our old ones. The old standards were very content-oriented, whereas these look at the skills and processes a student needs in order to understand and actually go out and do science. It's very rich when it comes to engineering, which is a new piece that's never been in the standards before. And our department's been looking at them and working with them and seeing how we actually already apply some of what's in them to our current curricula, so that it's not going to be a huge leap. So we're ready to move forward and just very excited about it. And thanks for noticing I was here tonight. Karen.
Go ahead. You have a question?
All right, and then I'd love to hear what you have to say, but kind of as a follow-up question, one of the things that I struggle with is it looks as though with STEM, it's hard to differentiate from my perspective of not being an educator. Those things belong in tech ed, and those that belong in science. If I think of digital electronics, I've seen it both offered on both. Right. And does the adoption of these standards tonight help maybe solidify some of that, or does it make it a little more murky, or does that help differentiate? Because with Project Lead the Way, there's some of the engineering components that go down to our tech ed departments, and there's some that fall up to, and I'm only saying up because you guys are up a level from them, not giving them any hierarchy or anything.
Well, I guess from my perspective, it helps to kind of delineate, what is technology, what is science, the knowledge of, understanding how something works, and technology is the application of that knowledge. And so, when you look at the standards, and you can pick almost any standard, because there is, once the student has learned the science, how are you going to apply that? Where does that fit? And so it's interspersed from, K-12 in all of the standards, which I think is, I look at elementary teachers and what they're going to be asked to do now. with the science standards and how it's going to lead right into the engineering pieces that are so important that we just haven't gotten to. So, but I think it really it shows and separates in the language. It actually separates out and talks about the difference between science and technology, and then it shows how one can flow right into the other.
If I can ask, so, well, John might have been the arts. I was not. And I grew up with a chemistry teacher father, so there we lived with it, right? So it helped me think about how the process piece, which I 100% buy into, also allows us to feed the content side, right? Because some people will go, oh, now all the content goes away, right? It's all about process.
Oh.
And so help just a little
Sure.
thought, a nugget on that.
An example of what I did in class today. I teach an astronomy class, and so we've been working on the understanding of different planets, and just the features, the characteristics, and then what that means to that planet. So we were talking about Mars. Mars has a very thin atmosphere. Could we actually go and live there? I mean, the whole science behind our understanding of Mars. But then the task today was, all right, we're going to Mars. We need to, drop onto this planet. We're going to go through a very thin atmosphere. How do we build a parachute that's going to slow us down enough to do that? And so they have to understand the atmosphere. They have to understand the science of that place in order to build this piece that allows them to go. So they have to, they have to utilize that information to build something, and that's the technology or the engineering piece. Does that help?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
You're
The other piece, and correct me if I'm wrong. So as I read through this, it was very intriguing and very, it opened lots of thought doors for me. So one of the pieces that I think about often, in particularly in high schools, is that we still tend to operate in what some may call a silo, right? There's the science silo, and there's
Right.
the English silo, and there's the, but this seems to provide some possibilities of maybe branching out of that in some ways.
Absolutely.
Crossing the very dangerous departmental boundaries. I don't know. Am I misreading that?
Oh, no, I think that's absolutely true. We have a food science class now where our chemistry teacher collaborates with a family and consumer ed teacher. I'm down in the tech ed department all the time, talking and dealing with some of the new technology pieces, the 3D printers. I have no idea how they are used, but I know that as a science teacher, if I can have my kids build something they can use in a lab, I mean, there's that creative endeavor that it's just, we're all over the place. Plus, the new standards actually are tied to the Common Core. So each one is linked to the math and to the language arts. So there's just fingers everywhere to pull it together.
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Not
you.
that I wrote them all.
I can just add a few remarks, nothing much more than what Heidi said, because she gave a wonderful description of the standards. Other than to say, I joined the district about 9 months ago and really attribute all of this work to Heidi and the team that she's worked with, the science department at the high school, as well as teachers in the elementary and middle schools. They've done a fantastic job really analyzing these standards. Pardon me. And the standards represent a really exciting time to move our district forward in science and in STEM, kind of both. We've already seen, as you've described, the ways that these fields interact, the way that we can really talk to our students about 21st century science. What does science mean for our students' future as they're looking at different careers and options? So it's really an exciting opportunity. I just want to thank Heidi and her team for all of the work they've done in studying and preparing for this adoption.
Great. Thank you. John?
I just want to add that I really liked your example about the parachute on Mars, and I realize that that's something the kids are now working on, so the answer isn't out there yet. But I would be curious myself at some point in the future of learning how big that doggone parachute had to be.
Okay.
That's great teaching. Thank you.
I just want to add a thank you to Karen for her work as she's come on board, and also to Heidi Andre, who has been in my ear about this topic for the past few years, and having the opportunity to serve as her principal in the past was a great opportunity. And it's really nice to have staff members who, when their name is heard in all parts of this state, not just in Madison, but districts in this state, And that name is connected with credibility and professionalism and hard work and passion for students and what they do in the classroom every day. That makes administrators feel very, very good. And I want to thank you, Heidi, because you've done that all your career and you continue to, so thank you.
All right. Hear, hear.
She passed me, too.
I
passed myself. Well,
we'll talk about that at some point. Okay. So see, we could recognize you. That's good. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All right. Let me think. Do we need to vote? We did vote? We've talked. We need to vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you so much. Thank you for the great work. Awesome. Awesome job. We have some policies now. 343.7, online learning for first reading. Second. Questions or comments? Great first start. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 443.2, student conduct on school buses. Critical importance.
Move approval.
Somebody seconded. Michelle, did you get one? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 367, counseling program, and 367, Rule 1, regulations for school counseling, and Rule 2, role of classroom teacher in school counseling. This is for second reading.
Move approval with one minor change. I think it was maybe a little bit of a typo. I'm not sure because there was a lot to update. On page 88, 5B1, I think algebra prognosis test, we had, I thought we took it out, but maybe we put it back in, and that's my question. If we took it out, then it needs to be corrected. If not, I had it out on one of my copies. So maybe we can check that out if it's supposed to be out. Otherwise, move approval.
Move approval. Okay. I got it. Okay. Any other questions, John?
We had some discussion talking about page 86, number 5, A, B, and C, the word values, and the perception that it offers that there may be differing values for different individuals, and actually we have common values that are outlined in our strategic plan, values of the character traits of fairness, caring, citizenship, responsibility, respect, and trustworthiness. And so I was a little concerned about that differentiation, and Lene had a suggestion, and I wasn't apparently listening well enough. But the word values is still in there, and I'm not sure that that it needs to be in there. I would like to say learn how to assess cultural norms and perspectives, learn skills to cope with conflicts, learn to work with those who may differ from whose cultural norms and perspectives may differ from one's own, and do it that way. Again, so that we understand that we all have and share a universal set of values. So I'm proposing that as an amendment to this, to read the way I just read it.
Is there a second? I don't hear it. Yeah, sure. Okay, is there questions or comments? I'll start with a comment. I think, John, well, I understand I kind of think, well, I understand where you're going. What is said here is a skill development question, right? It's not developing values. It's clarification, helping students understand how to clarify values, right? Values, clarification, skills, how to assess norms, how to assess values, how to cope with value conflicts. All of those for me are real. I mean, that's just everyday life in the world. We all may have many common values, but we also share values that aren't so common, or maybe are common, but we haven't figured out that they are. And I just that's a critical skill for me as a person leaving the high school, leaving our district. I think that needs to be part of what we do. We're not saying what their values. I mean, other than the district ones, right, that we hold dear. We are clearly saying, though, others will have differences in values. How do we understand and be able to work together, even though we might have different values? And that's what I see happening in number 5. So that's why I'm not quite ready to go where you're going yet. So, other thoughts, or John?
I think that the idea that different folks can hold different core values probably is one that I'm not sure is true. I think there are common core values that are found throughout the world in all religions and all countries and all ethnicities to some degree or other. And I think those are there. Now, and beyond those, there certainly will be different perspectives, different cultural perspectives, different cultural norms, and that's inevitable. Even different perspectives from different households of the same culture. And so that's all understandable, and that's what we want to try and bridge, because no two human beings are exactly alike, as we all know. So that's basically my thought in that I was just concerned about the implication that values were sort of something that was up for grabs.
Okay. Shannon?
John, I have to say, I think I appreciate you bringing this up and your concerns, but I'm reading it differently. And in fact, I think it's further enforced by a conversation I had in my driveway last night where a person came up and asked me some things about the district, and then said to me, diversity is more than just the color of the skin. I'm Jewish, and I have to look at Easter decorations in front of me out my window every day. And for that individual, their values are different than my values as a Catholic, but I respect her values, I respect her family's values, and I respect her appreciation of my values. And when I read this, it says to me, particularly 5C, learn to work with those whose values may differ from one's own values. Although we are both, many of our values are the same, on religion they're different. And to me that's where it says that I'm going to learn to appreciate and love her for who she is and her values, but not judge her for that. And that's really where I see this coming from. So I understand, 24 years of the Army values. I get values, I appreciate values, I love values, but I also think that I need to learn how to appreciate values of individuals that are different than mine, and I think that's what they're trying to say here. But I understand where you're coming from, because I believe hardcore in values, but I also believe that there are values different than my own that I need to respect and appreciate for the individuals who hold those values, even if they're different than mine, because there may be some fundamental importance to those individuals.
That's how I read it also.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Okay, motion on the table. All in favor of the motion to change the value statements in number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so we will thank you, John. Well, let's move forward. Nora, you had a pending your number 5. Okay. Anything else? If not, okay, we shall move forward. All in favor of this, say aye. 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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next item is student use of cellular phones. I believe is the next one, right? Yeah.
Move approval.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments? Michael, please.
Just to say that I do appreciate how this is looking. I know that in many instances, and there are several circumstances where it would really be a lot easier to just prohibit across the board. And I feel that when we completely take out that technology, we're losing an opportunity to teach students on appropriate usage in all their environment. I would rather us help them along with what are appropriate times and inappropriate times to be on your phone here before they get to the workplace than getting to the workplace and they're losing their jobs because they were never told you can't in the middle of your workday be on your phone. You know, so I really appreciate it. I know it means a lot of work, but I really like how this is looking.
Thank you. Thank you. Other thoughts, Shannon?
I too want to say thank you for all the work that has been done to this policy. It looks much different than when we originally saw it. I guess I still have some hesitation and concerns, so I would ask that maybe we have an update in 3 months on how this is working, or at the end of the school year. The concerns that I have is that I'm afraid that we're going to be asking our educators to enforce more of a police state, because this is a radical change from where we're at. And I'm also concerned that whether or not we'll have consistent enforcement, and is it going to send a mixed message to our students on what classes and when they can have their phones out and when they can't, because my hunch, and my hunch could be 100% incorrect, is that some classes will be okay with it and others will not. And so when do we enforce it, and when does it come in front of the code of conduct? When is it a violation, and when is it punitive? And then what I'd also like us to consider after we've had a trial of this policy is our iPads, because I've heard more and more from students and from educators that the iPads, where you can email, you can be on YouTube, you can take pictures, you can do videos, are actually more detrimental to the learning environment within the classroom than the cell phones ever were. So do we need such a policy for iPad usage that is not directly related to the learning environment? Perhaps so. And should that be coupled with this policy? I don't know, or does it need its standalone, but I think that if we could hear back from our educators and our administrators after the end of the school year as to, if this does pass this evening, how this policy is being perceived and implemented, that would give us great feedback as to whether or not it's effective and whether or not we need to add the iPads as a standalone within this policy or change this policy as presented.
Yeah, absolutely. We can come back. As with any major policy change, we'll want to re-examine it, and we'll want to hear from people that are actually in the classroom as well as the building level leadership, so that's not an issue.
Okay. With that in mind, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Personnel recommendations. We had one at our place tonight, right, that came to us revised, has revised on it. If you're looking at the one with revised. This is the retirement time of the year, right, where we start to see retirements. And we will all miss them, and many have been with us for a long time. So we wish them well as they move forward. So, is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. Second. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye. 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 Any discussion items for future? Oh, Michael?
Nay.
Oh, nay. Okay, thank you.
With emphasis.
Nay with emphasis. Okay. Items for consideration at future meetings. Anything? We have several items on the agenda, so we'll move forward. I'm sure that we have some budget stuff to move forward at some point to continue to have that conversation. So, future board meetings, committee meetings, April 14th, and next business meeting, April 28th, 2015. And with that, we are adjourned. Remember, we have to go back.